So let's get, okay. I'm not sure we're going to be able to finish this up. I really would like to finish up the sugya today. So we're in this very fascinating case, and we're going to see how there's an underlying zenan of azelo chasra possibility here. A kofin al midas dom. So let's remind ourselves we're bava mitzia ayin tesamad aleph. Okay, we're going to quickly get to four cases, and and then we're going to go to the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch. But let's see what the issues are here. Okay, so let's pick it up again. Ayin Tes Amud Aleph at the bottom. We're just going to run through quickly the four cases to remind ourselves what all the claims are. So Tana Rabbanan, Ayin Tes Amud Aleph, Hasocher Sfino V'tovala B'chatzi Haderech. Reb Noson Omer Im Noson Lo Yitol, Im Lo Noson Lo Yitel. So we got the Reuven rents a boat. Reuven has a boat, and Shimon has wine. And Shimon pays Reuven rent to rent his boat for a month to transport wine, and the boat sinks. Okay, so we could even talk about another case. Even before we get into this case, the first case we would talk about, just so you'll get the framework. What happens if Reuven rents a boat, and Shimon rents Reuven's boat to transport wine, and in the middle, the wine slips off the boat into the ocean. The wine is lost. Okay, so now Shimon wants to bring other wine to replace that wine, so that he'll be able to use the boat for different wine. And the contract was
that wine,
Yayin Zu. So the owner of the boat says, "I'm very sorry, you can't bring the wine that we agreed on, and therefore I'm not mechuyev to let you use the boat for the rest of the month. You have to bring that wine, or you can't use it
unless you pay more."
I mean, you're starting over again. You want, the contract was Yayin Zu, and you can't bring Yayin Zu. It's your problem. It's your loss.
Right? Okay? Can I just ask?
No, that's not the case of the Gemara. That's not the case of the Gemara.
But the guy of the wine, he's paying rent for the boat, right?
Yes, but he agreed to rent the boat for Yayin Zu.
Yeah, but the rent it's not mentioned in the cases, but it's a given, right?
No, it was mentioned in the contract. I'm renting your boat for a month to bring these Yayin Zu.
Right. It's not like the wine is being paid as rent or something like that.
No. I'm paying you money to rent your boat for a month.
Fine. I just wanted to.
Yayin Zu, and the Yayin Zu isn't there anymore.
Okay, fine.
So the owner of the boat says, "Your problem, too bad. I'm not going to allow you to bring different wine to rent the boat." Keep that in mind, because that's not the case of the Gemara. We're going to go back to that at the very end. Okay? So, he doesn't have to pay. Whoever has the money keeps. If he paid the money, the owner of the boat gets to keep the money. If he didn't pay the money, the owner of the wine doesn't have to pay the money. Says the Gemara, what's the scenario? That Reuven, the owner of the boat, said, "I'm renting you this boat." And Shimon said, "Wonderful, I'm renting this boat in order to bring wine." Im nosan amay lo yitol. Name alei, havli sfinta, da'ana, maisina chamra. I will bring wine. This wine's fell off. I'll bring other wine, and you have to give me a boat, because you promised this boat. And says Rashi, halotinus hatoveya bari, the chazaka, meaning the owner of the wine, mitanus hanitba, the amarle havli hahisfinta gufa. There's a boat underground that you owed me, that you promised me that boat. Bring me that boat, or if not, bring me a replacement boat. Otherwise, I'm not paying. Deha amarta li sfina zu, the anamaisina kan chamra, the olich lemakam shehisna, because I can bring anyone I want, and if you don't bring a boat, you lose. The owner of the wine can fulfill the letter of the contract. The contract was wine, he'll bring wine. The owner of the boat can't fulfill that boat, so either has to bring another boat to replace it. That would be fine, because the owner of the wine doesn't care. But the point of the owner of the wine is if you don't bring me another boat, I'm not paying you anything. Okay, so then chayva safan lahamid lo sfina. The owner of the boat has to bring a new boat, or he doesn't get any money. So says the Gemara, why should I make the owner of the wine pay if he hasn't paid? If he paid, why doesn't he get his money back? He should get his money back unless the owner of the boat can bring another boat. So it can't be a case of Sfina Zu v'yayin stam, because the owner of the wine can fulfill his end of the deal, and the owner of the boat can't unless he brings another boat. And therefore, even if he paid, he gets his money back unless the owner of the boat brings another boat. So that can't be the case. Ella what? B'sfina stam v'yayin zeh. That the owner of the wine rented a boat from the boat parking lot, okay? And yayin zeh, and the contract was, I want to rent a boat to bring this wine. So, and then the boat sank with the wine. Imlo Nasan, what happened? He hadn't paid rent yet. And the owner of the boat agreed to give him a boat for transporting this wine. And this wine now is underwater. The owner of the boat says, I'm very sorry. We made a deal. As soon as you bring, I'm ready to fulfill my end of the deal. I will give you a boat to transport the wine that you agreed on. And it's not here. It's your problem, not my problem. Right? Says Rashi, Havli hahu chamra gufei v'ana maisina sifinta achrita hoel v'hasapan yesh biyoro lahaflin tzunao. The owner of the boat, he can do exactly what he contracted to do, a boat. V'zeh me'akev, and the owner of the wine can't deliver the wine that he contracted for. So Yishalim kol haschar, he's got to pay, because the owner of the boat's ready to do his part, and the owner of the wine can't do his part. Why should the owner of the boat lose? So that can't be the scenario where whoever has the money keeps it. The only way we have Rabbi Noson's din of whoever has the money keeps it has to be Besfina Zu v'yayin zeh. Then we say whoever has the money keeps it. Says Rashi, why? Ella b'yayin zeh Besfina Zu. V'lo biyad zeh v'zeh lahashli. Nobody can do his deal because the owner of the boat can't bring this boat. It's underground. And the owner of the wine can't bring this wine because it's underwater. Hilkach, therefore, yara tovei ala tachton. Whoever wants the money, since he can't deliver his end of the deal, he can't demand money. The Omar le he'ech ana lo ma'akva. I'm not holding back the deal. Michi maisi didach. As soon as you bring your part of the deal, I'm ready to do my part of the deal. But of course, you can't do your part of the deal. So therefore, if I have the money, if I'm the owner of the boat and I already got paid, and now you want your money back because I can't give you a boat to take across, I say, well, as soon as you bring me the wine, I will do the boat. Because since the wine was yayin zu, I can demand you bring the contract, you deliver your contract. On the other hand, if the owner of the wine hasn't paid yet, he can demand, I'm not stopping the contract. As soon as you're ready to deliver your part of the deal, i.e. Sfina zu, I'll bring you wine, or pay you because I can't bring you wine. But the point is that everybody wants money from the other guy, and the other guy can always say, I'm very sorry, you're the one who's stopping the deal. Okay, this is the third case. And the fourth case is aval sfina stam v'yayin stam. What happens if Reuven promised a boat and Shimon promised and did it to bring wine, and then the boat and the wine sank? Cholkin. What does cholkin mean? Says Rashi. In kibel, if the owner of the boat already got paid, yachzer hachetzi. V'in lo nasan, but if the owner of the wine didn't pay anything, yiten hachetzi. Why? What's this chetzi? Shaharei biyad shneim lahashli. Anybody can, either one of them can fulfill. The guy who said, Sfina Stam, I'm ready to bring you a different boat. Okay, so I'm ready to bring you a different boat. If you're not going to bring me a different boat, if you're not going to bring me different wine, I don't know anything. On the other hand, in Ya'akev HaNitba, Militin HaChetzi Yaset Tano. Meaning, what it really means is that there was a deal, $500 for the boat, Ya'in Stam, Sfina Stam. They both sank. Says the owner of the boat, I'm ready to bring you a different boat, and you're going to pay me $500. So if the owner of the wine does it, fine, everybody's happy. Okay, if the owner of the wine says, I'm sorry, I don't have any other wine, the owner of the boat can say, well, I'm very sorry, you committed to bring wine for a boat, I'm ready to give you a boat. So you're not ready to give me wine, you got to pay full rent. On the other hand, if the owner of the boat has no other boats, and the owner of the wine says, I'm ready to bring wine, give me a boat, and the owner of the boat can't, then the owner of the wine doesn't have to pay anything. But if neither of them wants to fulfill the contract, then they have to split. Meaning the owner of the boat says, well, I can't bring another boat. The owner of the wine says, I can't bring more wine. So then the owner of the boat is entitled to 50% of the rent. That's the cholkin. Yeah.
I don't get that last thing. Why is he entitled to half of that? If he can't bring the boat, the other guy can't. Why don't they just depart? It wasn't meant to happen.
Excuse me. The owner, remember, the owner of the boat is saying, I'm ready to give you another boat. Because I rented a boat for $500. It sank. I'm ready to give you another boat. Please pay me $500. So now the owner of the wine has to deliver wine or pay full rent. The only case of cholkin would be when the owner of the boat, right, can't deliver a boat, and the owner of the wine can't deliver wine.
That's exactly the case I'm asking. So if the owner of the boat cannot deliver another boat, and there is no wine to be gotten either, so then, because the wine went down with the boat, right?
The owner of the boat says, you bring wine and I'll figure out how to get a boat. You're the one who's stopping the deal from happening. And the owner of the wine says, well, you're the one who's stopping the deal from happening. And therefore the justified thing is they split the rent.
But did I understand correctly that the wine went down with the boat? With the
yes.
only boat? The only wine went down with the only boat. So they
Correct.
both lost. They both lost.
No. It was Sfeina Stam and Yayin Stam. Everybody has the right to bring different wine or different boat. But if they're not doing it, because remember the owner of the boat, if he is ready to deliver another boat, and the owner of the wine is ready to deliver more wine, then we just go on with our lives. And he gets the wine and he takes it across and he gets his $500.
Right, but in this case,
the owner of the boat has no boat and the owner of the wine has no wine.
Right. So then both of them lost. Why do they still have to
Because the owner of the boat lost his rent that he was supposed to get from the owner of the wine.
And the owner of the wine lost his wine.
But that's not my problem. I'm the owner of the boat. You're supposed to give me $500 for my boat. You promised to give me $500 for my boat, and you didn't to transport wine. The problem is that I can't I can't give you the boat, but you can't give me the wine. That's the conflict.
Okay.
Anyway, let's just see now the Tosfos.
Rabbi Karlinsky?
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm going to have to go on the road to get to a meeting, so I'm going to go off video.
Okay. Ms. Ader, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.
And I apologize for coming in late.
Okay. All right. So let's just take a little bit Tosfos, then we go to the Rambam. How do we paskin this? Okay. And the case that we didn't talk about is where the wine went down and the boat is still there. What's wrong? Daniel, I can't hear you, Daniel.
How did that happen? The wine fell off the boat?
Yeah, without sinking. The wine slipped off the boat. There was a storm and it washed away. They didn't sink the boat, but it washed the wine off the boat.
Okay.
Okay. So now the owner of the boat wants full rent. He says, it's your problem. Okay, it's your problem. However, the deal was Yayin Zu. Here's the trick. The deal was Yayin Zu. What did we say about Yayin Zu? The owner of the wine can't deliver the wine. Right? What does the owner of the wine want? The owner of the wine wants to bring other wine. All right, he'll bring other wine and get the boat for the rent and be able to. He's ready to pay the rent, but he wants to pay the rent for different wine. And the owner of the boat is saying, I'm very sorry, our contract was Yayin Zu. If you don't bring Yayin Zu, I don't have to transport. What do you guys say? Nobody has an opinion on that?
I don't see why it makes a difference whether it's this wine or another one.
And therefore?
What does Yayin Zu mean? He wants to transport.
Yayin Zu means the deal was for specific wine.
What's the difference to the boat owner what wine he's taking?
Well, you see that it does make a difference.
There's something we're missing.
It does make a difference when the boat owner committed a boat, okay, and the wine, the contract was for this wine, and everything sank. The owner of the boat can demand
after it
that you have to pay me because you can't deliver your end of the contract. Says Ephraim, wait a minute, but it really doesn't matter to the owner of the boat. Why does he care what wine there is? He's taking advantage. Ephraim is saying, wait a minute, the owner of the boat's taking advantage. He's demanding payment for the rent, and he's not going to have to provide the boat because the guy can't bring this wine. What difference does it make? That's what you're asking, correct?
I was wondering about that question all along. There's obviously something in the mitzias of these cases that we are not aware of here somewhere.
No, there's nothing in the mitzias of the cases you're not aware of. These are claims. There's a contract. How much can I demand perfect fulfillment of the contract? So it says here that if the boat owner committed a boat in order to transport specific wine, that's the contract. The owner of the boat can now say, I'm ready to bring another boat, but I'm only going to bring another boat for the wine that we contracted for. If you can't bring that wine, it's your problem. You still have to pay me rent.
I agree with Daniel. I think that the weird thing about this case for all three of us students who are talking is that it doesn't reflect a normal type of ta'ana that somebody would make today. Like, no, the judge would just throw that out as in a normal court today. Whereas here, the point was
Wait a minute, just a minute.
But it doesn't matter.
Did we have a contract?
No, I'm just commenting. In a normal courthouse, at least in Israel, and I think in America too, if someone made such a picayune point, like which is so clearly orthogonal, like, oh, I delivered everything to you, but I did it by FedEx. You wanted DHL, so you're not paying. That's not accepted in any court, even though we agree. I think that what's going on is that the Gemara set this up as a useful hypothetical, even though it may not reflect a particular commercial reality even then.
Okay, so so you guys are on the right track and on the wrong track. Okay, I want to compare two cases. One case is that the wine slipped off, but the boat is still there. But the contract was for Yayin Zu. Okay, and the wine slipped off, and now the owner of the wine wants to bring different wine for the boat that's still there. That's one case. The other case is that the boat and the wine all sank. And the owner of the boat is saying, I will bring another boat because I committed Yayin Stam. I will bring another boat as long as you bring the wine that was contracted for.
That's an easier case. There he has a full taina. He says, okay, listen, you lost your wine. I lost my boat, but I'm in the boat business. You rented a boat for me. You have a contractual obligation to use my transport. I'm providing you the transport. Mach batli that you don't have wine now.
No, but if it would be Yayin Stam, we made a difference between Yayin Stam and Yayin Zu. If it was Yayin Stam, then they split it. It's because it was Yayin Zu that the owner of the boat can demand compliance with the contract down to the last letter, which is bothering Dan. Okay, because what difference does it make to you? Okay, well, the difference it makes to me is because now I don't have to bring another boat. But when the boat that I contracted for is still there, ironically, then we say Kofin al Midas Dom. Because to the owner of the boat, even though the contract was for Yayin Zu, he doesn't care whether the guy really ultimately brings that same wine or different wine, because the boat is still there and all he has to do is deliver the boat that he originally contracted for. But if the boat sank, now you're making him bring a different boat. That's not Zenene Vizelo Chaser. I am Chaser because I have to bring another boat. When the boat is intact, the owner of the wine can say, hey, mister, Zenene, I benefit if I can bring different wine, even though, the contract was for this wine. The contract was for this wine. But if I bring different wine, I'm Nene. And if I bring it to you for the boat, and the boat is here, and what difference does it make to you whether you took this wine or different wine? It's a perfect zenan of his elochaser, kofin al midas dom. But the minute the boat owner's boat sank, now you're demanding from him to bring a different boat. That's already not zenan of his elochaser. Because he says, I don't want to bring a different boat. Right? But you're right, it's a technicality. I'm avoiding having to bring a different boat because you can't fulfill the letter of the law, of the letter of the contract. It's a loophole, but it avoids the zenan of his elochaser. You guys hear? I hope you guys hear what's going on. We're going to see this in the Rishonim. It's going to be a machlokas Rishonim. We'll get to the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, let's open up the Rambam, if you will. Quick Rambam.
And you want to do a Tosfos?
Oh, I'm sorry. I started the Tosfos. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Okay. Only then do we say the muksik always wins. I don't owe you anything. Until you fulfill your end of the deal, I don't have to pay you any money. But on the other hand, I don't have to give you back money unless you fulfill your end of the deal. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I don't want to do the Tosfos because the Tosfos goes into a whole different discussion that is interesting. If we would be doing that sugya, I would certainly go into it. But we're doing the sugya of zenan of his elochaser. So therefore, I'm sorry. I'm skipping the Tosfos. The Tosfos has nothing to do with the zenan of his elochaser part. Okay? Rambam. Quick Rambam. One Rambam. And then we're going to go to the tour. And I really want to get to the Shulchan Aruch today because that's really where the machlokas goes, the difference between the boat sinking and the boat not sinking. Okay, so Gimel. It's Perek Hey Schirus, which is in Mishpatim. Schirus is in Mishpatim, not in Kinyan. Schirus is in Mishpatim. And it's Perek Hey Halacha Gimel.
Where is in reference to Malve Velove?
Well, it's the first mishpatim.
Oh, it's the first mishpat. Yeah. Perek Hey
halacha gimel. Okay. So hasocher es hasfina v'tova b'lo b'chatzi haderech. Im omar lo sfina zu ani maskir lecha v'sochra hasocher leholich ba yayin stam. Meaning they designated a specific boat that the boat owner is renting, and it was to bring wine, and then the boat sank with the wine. Afal pisha nosan lo haschar, and even if the owner of the wine paid in advance for the rental, yachzer kol haschar. Shareza omer lo haveli hasfina atzmo shesacharti. The owner of the wine can say that you have to deliver the boat that we agreed upon. If you don't deliver the boat that we agreed upon, why should I have to pay you? We could say that the owner of the wine is demanding a specific boat. He wanted that boat. That boat is bigger. That boat is more comfortable. That boat is more insulated from sinking. I wanted that boat. And I have a right to demand that boat, and you can't say what difference does it make. All right, and therefore I demand that boat because the deal was yayin stam. So therefore, clearly the owner of the wine wins, and if he gets his money back if he paid, and he doesn't have to pay if he didn't pay. But Omar lo sfina stam ani maskir lecha. Give me a boat. So okay, give me a boat. V'sachra hasocher laholich ba yayin zeh. And the owner of the boat said, I am renting you my boat. A boat to deliver specific wine. Because the owner of the boat is saying, I'm ready to do my part. I'm ready to give you a boat. As soon as you give me the wine that we committed to, I'll transport it. But you can't get out of the rental without giving me my rental. Okay, and then the Rambam goes into the fact that maybe he has to deduct from the fact that the boat wasn't used. Okay, skip this a little bit. Omar lo sfina zuani maskir v'schar hasocher laholich bo yayin zeh. What about if it was a sfina zu and a yayin zu? So then, im notan aschar eno yochel hachzir lo, vim lo nosan lo yiten. Meaning, sfina zu and yayin zu, whoever has the money wins. She'ein ze yochel lahavi asfina atzma, velo ze yochel lahavi yayin. Neither of them can fulfill the contract. And therefore, whoever has the money keeps it because he can always demand from the other guy, fulfill the contract. You can't fulfill, it's your problem. I can't fulfill, well, I got the money, and therefore I win. Okay, Sochar Sfina Stam Liyayin Stam, Harei L'Cholken Aschar. So basically the Rambam paskins the Gemara. Okay, let's open up now the tour. Shin Yud Aleph. Tour is Choshen Mishpat Shin Yud Aleph. And here we're going to get in, you'll see, I'll already alert you, we're going to get into Kofen Al Midas Zdom Zenen Vizelo Chaser proactively or reactively. Okay, you'll see where there's an issue here that's indirectly related. Okay, so we're going to pick it up with Beis. Shin Yud Aleph Beis in the new tours. It's at the bottom of page Shin Lamed Beis. It's Shin Yud Aleph Siman Beis. Hasocher Sfina Laholich. Give everybody a minute to find it. Stu, you're finding it? Okay. Hasocher Sfina Laholich. Okay. Shin Yud Aleph Siman Beis. Hasocher Sfina Laholich Bo Yayin L'Makom Ploni. V'tova b'chatzi haderech. Im Amar Sfina Zu Ani Maskir L'cha V'Sachra Hasocher Liyayin Stam. Then the owner of the wine wins. Afilu kibel kol aschirus tzorach lachziro lo sheyomer lo havei sfina shesacharti v'ani avi yayin v'oliv ba. You got to bring the boat that we contracted for. If you don't bring the boat we contracted for, I don't owe you any money. I'm ready to fulfill my end of the deal. You're not ready to fulfill your end of the deal, and therefore you got to refund the rent I paid. And if I didn't pay, I don't have to pay. Amar lo sfina stam v'asocher amar liyayin zeh. But if it was a boat and it was for specific wine, so then Ladat Rav Afas the Rif, Afal Pisha lo nosan klum min aschar, chayiv liten lo kulo, kivin shabal asfina yochel l'kaim tano v'lo balayayin. The reason it says here this kulo is only because of whether we're going to take off a little money, because at the end of the day you were better off that you didn't have to bring a boat. Right? That's the and because of a Rambam, okay, that there's no deduction because the boat wasn't used. I don't want to get into that sugya. That's another sugya that's talked about on Ayin Test. Okay, so skip now to Dalet. Okay, all right. Again, there's different opinions about how much he has to pay. Maybe he only has to pay 50% of the rent. I don't want to go. That's going to get us sidetracked. Go to Dalet. Amar HaMaskir Sfina Zu Tasocher Mayayin Zeh Kol Mi Shehichzik Yado Ale Elyona. Whoever has the money keeps the money. Okay, Vim Kibel Afilu Kol Aschirus Lo Yatzer Lo. Why? Right, because everybody could say, I'm ready to do my part of the deal. You're not ready to do your part of the deal. So whoever has the money wins. But Lo Nasan Lo Aschar Klum Lo Yiten Kivin Shein Achad V'Hem Yochel L'Kaim Tano. Nobody can fulfill their side of the deal. Continues the tour. Omar Hamaskir Sfina Stam V'Gam Hasocher Omar Yayin Stam Shekol Echad Yochel L'Kaim Tano. The owner of the boat says, "Good, I'll bring you a different boat. Pay me." If the owner of the boat says, "I'll bring you a different boat. Pay me," and if the owner of the wine can't, the owner of the wine loses. If the owner of the wine says, "Bring me a different boat," I'll bring different wine, and the owner of the boat doesn't, he doesn't have to pay anything. But if neither one of them is ready to deliver their part of the deal, Ima Maskir maybe Sfina Acheres. If the maskir brings another boat, Vein Hasocher maybe Yayin Acher, and the owner of the wine doesn't bring replacement wine, Tzarach Litin Lo Schar, he's got to pay for the whole rent. The Masocher maybe Yayin, the Socher has wine there ready to go, and he says, I need another boat. And right, the Maskir Eno maybe Sfina Acheres, then Afilu Shekibel Akol Yoch Tzarach Lahachzer. Then the maskir is going to have to refund the money because the owner of the wine is saying, I've got wine, I'm ready to deliver my part of the deal. Give me another boat, which I paid you for. And the owner of the boat says, I ain't got no more boats, got to give back the money. Okay? I hope everything makes sense to you. Okay? V'chol zman shelo yavi lo zeva lo ze, no sin lo chatzi askar, afal pishu muchzak, lo yuchal lomer lo etin l'chad. Shetavi, you can't, the kids we have to split it. Now comes Gimel. Now, the dikdik. This is the important halacha now. Dikdek mikana rama. Misha socher chamor osvina lemasa yadua. So we now have a case where Reuben has a boat, and Shimon says, I'm renting your boat to bring yayin zu. Okay? Ein yochel l'shanos lemasa acher. Shimon can't turn around afterwards and bring other wine. Afilu eno kavad mimen. If the deal was yayin zu, you can't change the deal. On the other hand, if it was a specific donkey, a specific boat, the owner of the boat can't switch boats.
And this is a fundamental. This isn't because someone said, I really want that donkey because it knows me, or I really want that boat because I like the couch downstairs, or anything like that. It's just meant to be ki'ilu lahachis, right?
No. As long as the guy says, we made a deal for this boat, I can demand this boat. That was the deal. You can't give me a different boat. No, remember, we're not talking, nothing sank here, nothing in it. We made a contract. We wrote a contract. Okay? You're going to give me this boat. Okay? You're going to give me this boat, and I'm going to bring this wine.
Right.
So you got to deliver that boat, and you can't switch boats on me. But I can't bring different wine and switch wine on you. That is the Ramah. It's okay. You guys, if you're a little uncomfortable with the Ramah, you'll be fine, because there's a Yesh Omrim. The Yesh Omrim v'arei ba'alma yochel l'shanos d'malo yayin zeh shehitna lo o acher. Ela shemotza kan mokum kepeda lanuach v'nocha. V'chein das Ravina Rosal. Meaning, the boat, we might say there's a difference in the boats. But wine, what difference does it make? I brought you this wine. Obviously I can't bring 6 cases of wine if I said I'm going to bring 5 cases of wine.
Exactly.
But if I said I'm going to bring 5 cases of Yarden 2005, okay? And then instead of that, I end up with 5 cases of Shiloh 2007. Oh, no, we agreed on that. We agreed on Yarden. What? The owner of the boat can't say. There's no kepeda there. And this is what you alluded to, Dan. The owner of the boat that's saying, oh, no, we agreed on Yarden wine, you can't bring Shiloh wine, then the owner of the boat is simply Matzah Kan Mokum Kepeda Lanuach V'Nacha. He's looking for a way to chepe the guy and make trouble. And
what do you make of the fact that the Ramah phrases this as a V'yesh Omrim, even though he gave his...
No, that's not the Ramah. No, it's the Tur saying Yesh Omrim.
Okay, so I mean...
The Ramah says what the Ramah says.
Got it.
Okay.
Unless I could see a possible case, I'm like thinking a little bit in terms of the business that I was in with private, whatever, in the touring business, that I want this boat for that wine, right? And the reason why the guy with the boat agreed for that wine is because he knew that wine had to be delivered to a certain address that was no difference in distance. No difference. The same amount of wear and tear, the same amount of
Excuse me, Daniel.
He took the job because he wanted to get to that place.
Daniel, you just introduced an element that we're not talking about. We're only talking about different wine, bringing Yarden wine or bringing Shiloh wine. That's the only thing we're talking about. We're not talking about changing the distance or keeping the same distance to a different place. It's a different sugya.
No, but the Yarden wine goes to the Yarden dealer.
No. Daniel, don't make up changes. We're talking the only variable we are changing is what wine is going on that boat to do exactly what they contracted for.
But that's why I took the job. I took it because of Yarden. For Shiloh, I wouldn't have taken it.
Why?
Because I have some extra reason that I have an interest in transporting the Yarden wine, and not the Shiloh wine.
So it says here that that's not a good excuse.
Unless, he says here that might be like because you're foolishly makpid. But maybe I think that what Daniel said might be fine, right? Like I wanted to do it so that I can tell everyone I'm a transporter of Yarden wine and not Manischewitz, right? That isn't because you're you just don't want to
Okay, so I guess you guys like the Ramah, but you got to realize what the Ramah says. Dik mikana Ramah, misha socher chamor, etc. Can't change. Where did the Ramah see that in our sugya? Where did the Ramah see in our sugya that a person who contracted for Yarden wine can't? The owner of the boat can stop him and say, "You got to bring Yarden wine and not Shiloh wine." Where did he see that in the sugya? It's diktek harama from the sugya.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is because our sugya says that when the owner of the boat has a svina stam, and the contract was for yayin zu, and everything sank, the owner of the boat can demand that I won't deliver another boat unless you bring me yayin zu. So you see how binding yayin zu is. That's where the Rama got it from. Okay, and the Yesh Omrim are saying that's one thing when it. Now we have to figure out, and maybe we'll go to the Shulchan Aruch and see how the Sman Nashach explained this. All right, is there a difference between the demand that you have to bring me the wine we agreed upon after everything sank, versus the demand when everything's intact and I want to bring a different wine than we agreed, but everything is the same weight, the same volume, everything is the same. It's just different. Does that give you the right to say, I'm very sorry, we contracted, you have to live up to the contract? And that's the Machlokas Ramah and the Yesh Omrim. But everybody agrees that when it sank, and that's what, see, the Yesh Omrim is going to have to explain. The Ramah is perfect. The Ramah says, I see from our sugya that when it sank, the owner of the boat can demand yayin zu, and you got to bring the yayin zu, and you can't change it now. All right? And that's the Ramah. And somehow or other, the Yesh Omrim says, no, that doesn't, he agrees that if the boat sank, the owner of the boat can demand yayin zu and doesn't have to, and he can get his rent. But he says, but if the boat didn't sail yet, the boat didn't sail, and now the owner of the wine wants to bring different wine, he could. What's the difference? Okay, so let's see the Beis Yosef. Let's just see where the Ramah got it from. Go to Dalit, but then we're going to see the Beis Yosef explaining the Yesh Omri. Masha Omar v'dikdik b'kana Ramah misha shesocher chamor osfina l'masa yadua. Ein yochel l'shanos l'masa acher afilu eino kaved mimeno v'chein amaskir chamor, etc. Kolomar, says the Beis Yosef, where did the Ramah get this from? Mi de chazina, since we saw b'shak levitaria ahai brisa, when the Gemara was being done on this brisa, Omer sfina zu o yayin zeh have kapeda, that there's a kapeda on sfina zu, and you got to bring that boat. And if it was yayin zu, you got to bring that wine. Then lo acher lo mararamakein. Now you see that once there's agreement for a specific wine or a specific boat, nobody can change. And that's what it says in our Gemara. Says the Beis Yosef on the next section. Umasha kosav yesh omrim devare be'alma yochel l'shanos demali yayin zeh sheitne o acher el shemotza kan mokom kveida lanuach v'nocha v'chein kosav Rav Amagi b'perak hanizkar. We should have seen it in the Rambam. The Magid Mishnah has a whole big shtickle there. All right, but we didn't have time to see it. But maybe we'll, if we continue this sugya afterwards, we'll come back and see that Magid Mishnah. But he quotes it here: B'shem Ramban v'Harash Bazal. All right, that they agree with this, that you could change the wine when the boat hasn't sailed yet. V'zeh Lashon Ramban. Hadi Amar le Havli Chamra Lav le Memra Demei Kara lo Matzi l'Shnuye. See, the deal is like this: the boat sank, and we say the owner of the boat wins because he can demand from the owner of the wine in the Yayin Zu case, bring me the wine from the bottom of the ocean, and then I'll deliver the boat, and you can't, so I don't have to deliver a boat, and you got to pay. So says the Ramban, that's only the Amar le Havli Chamra Lav le Memra. It doesn't mean to make Karlo Matzi l'Shnuye le. Doesn't mean that he couldn't have done it originally. Ela dahasam. Here's the key words. Kiva deleka kapeda b'milsa mali hachamra mali achrin. Before the boat sailed, what difference does it make to you this wine or a different wine? It's not appropriate, not justified. Aval, here's the key words. Kivan shetava v'yesh lo revach bekepeda. Guess what? The owner of the boat is gonna benefit from his demand of yayin zu. Matza makam litvoa tanao. He has an opening. There's an opening for him to demand. There's an opening for him to demand that you deliver the specific wine, because now it's not a zenen v'zelo chaser anymore. See, when the boat hasn't sailed, and Shimon, the owner of the wine, wants to bring different wine, we say to Reuven, the owner of the boat, Malacha, ma'achpat lecha, zenen v'zelo chaser. Doesn't cost you anything. You're not losing anything. But here, the owner of the boat wants to be marviach. Why does he want to be marviach? Because if he has to bring a different boat, he can't rent that different boat. And now he can rent the different boat. So he has a benefit by demanding full compliance to the contract. You hear the difference. It's subtle. Ephraim, I want to know what you think about that. Right?
Like
the fact that the owner of the boat can benefit from a demand for full compliance, as opposed to before the boat sailed, the owner of the boat, it doesn't matter to him. It really doesn't matter. So that's a zenen v'zelo chaser. But when the boat sank, and now he's going to have to bring a different boat, and he benefits by demanding compliance, because now he doesn't have to bring a different boat. He's allowed to do that.
Sounds like midas dom to me.
Which one?
This last case.
Where it sank or where it didn't sink?
Where it sank.
So wait, so you got it backwards. When it didn't sink, it's midas dom. Then it's a zenen v'zelo chaser. But when the boats sank, what are you demanding from me? You're saying I'm gonna lose my rent? I'm gonna lose my rent because what? Because he can't bring up the wine? I'm ready to deliver another boat. I don't want you can't sell me that I'm gonna lose. I have other boats that I want to rent. So don't tell me that I can't bring the boat. I can't bring the boat. I don't want to bring the boat because I want to rent it somewhere else. There's a chaser there. You can't say zenen v'zelo chaser because I'm losing rent. Very subtle, but that's you go ahead.
So if he brings the agreed upon wine, isn't the boat owner still chasser? But then I'm just thinking out loud. But then that's the deal, though. That was the original deal.
Again,
so
you got to know whether as long as either side can deliver their part of the deal, they're on top. Therefore, it was a yayin stam. If it was yayin stam, the owner of the wine can deliver his part of the deal. And then if the owner of the boat can't, he's going to lose. But when it's yayin zu, he can't deliver the deal. So normally when the boat hasn't sailed yet, and now the owner of the wine can't deliver, that goes back to our very first case that we talked about. They're already traveling, and the wine slips off the boat. And the owner of the wine says, good, I'll bring you different wine. And the owner of the boat said, no, we contracted for this wine. That's a perfect kofin al midas dom. That's a perfect zenen v'zelo chaser. Daniel, I hope you hear the difference between that zenen v'zelo chaser, because the owner of the boat, he's got the boat there, he's got to do it. What difference does it make to you, this wine or that wine? But if I have to bring a different boat, that's already, you can't say zenen v'zelo chaser. That is going to be, okay. Now, there is a machlokas. We have a few minutes. You guys have a real Shulchan Aruch? Otherwise, I'll have to tell you. So let's say a quick real Shulchan Aruch Shin Yud Aleph. There, everybody agrees on the halach. Everybody, we paskin like the Yesh Omrim. We're going to paskin like the Yesh Omrim. Okay, but and it's not the same. It's a difference between our case and the Ramaz case. Okay, but we need to know why with the Ramaz case, why in our case don't we also say kofin al midas dom? What difference does it make to you? And we say it does make a difference, and we'll see why it makes a difference. So we have a Shulchan Aruch Shin Yud Aleph. Oh, what my gosh. I'll try to squeeze in a very interesting question that there are Rishonim that want to connect to this, and Rav Asher Weiss brings other Achronim that reject the connection. Okay, so we're Shin Yud Aleph. Shin Yud Aleph. Siv Beis. You know what? Basically, all right, no, let's see it inside. Let's see this one. Hasocher hasfina v'tava b'chatzi aderech imamar le'sfina zu ani maskir l'cha v'socher hasocher laholich v'yayin stam Afal Pisha Nosan Lo Aschar Yachzer Kol Aschar. Because there's Yain Stam and Sfina Zu, and the owner of the boat can't deliver his part of the deed. Okay? Yachzer Kol Aschar. Shazeh Omer Lo, Haveli Hasfina Atzma V'Shesacharti. Shakpeda Gedola Yesh Hakpada Gedola Yesh B'Sfina Zu. It's a legitimate demand of Sfina Zu. Sfina Zu is a legitimate demand. Vani Aviyayim Mikol Makom V'Olichba. V'im Omar Lahotzi Hasfina Min Amayim Ulahaskir Sfina Acheres B'Damav. All right, let's leave the Marma for now. Omar Le Sfina Stam Ani Maskir L'cha. V'Sochra HaSocher Laholichba Yayin Zeh. Afal Pisha Lo Nosan Me'aschar Klum Chayiv Litin Lo Kol Aschar. Sharei Omer Lo Haveli Yayin Atzmo V'Ani Lavi L'Chasfina Mikol Makom V'Olichena. And then he talks about whether there has to be a some kind of a deduction. But look, go to Dal. Amar lo Sfina Zu ani maskir lecha v'sachar socher laholich. But yayin zeh. So we have a Sfina Zu and a yayin Zu. Im nosan hasocher eno yochel lachzer im lo nosan. In other words, whoever has the money wins. Okay. Sochar Sfina Stam liyayin Stam harei lucholkin aschar. V'dafke kishein achar echad mehem rotzel hashlim, etc. Okay, that is the cholkin. Okay, so now let's see the sma. Just a minute, let me just see here. I want to make sure that I got it right here. The shach. Let's start with the shach. Okay. No, I see we have to start with the sma. Because the shach comments on the sma. Let me find, yeah, okay. Look at the Sma base. Okay, the Sma Ot base. Mom is the very, very top of the page. Hakpara Gedoli Yesh B'Sfina. Chein Hu Loshen HaRambam. The Perkei Schirus Venira de Kavasahu Kamosha Kosovatur. The Simen Zeh B'Shem Yesh Omrim. Okay. The Harosh de Hamaskir Chamor Zeyochel Lidchoso Liten Lo Chamor Ocher Atov Mizeh. Apparently, everybody agrees if I give you a better boat, then I'm okay. V'chenim Socher Chamor Lamasa Yadua Yochel Lashono Lamasa Acheres Hadome Im B'Mishkala V'Nipucha Ela Shemotza Hakpereka Mokom Lanuach V'Nacha. Meaning, you can't stop if it's all the same, you can't make a difference. Because of Sham Hamagid Mishnah. Shekain das HaRambam ve'Arashba ve'Hevi HaBeis Yosef b'Simen Zeh Loshan HaRambam. That was what we saw at the very end, the Rashba and the Ramban. Okay. So Hamikom Hamagid Zeh ve'Had Kosav Haveli Chamri Lav Lememer Demeikara Lo Matzi L'Shinoi. Here's what we need. Okay. The Had Kosav Havli Chamri, where the owner of the boat, when they sank, can say, "Bring the wine that we agreed on." Lav lememer demeikara lo matzi l'shnuyei chamra doesn't mean that before the boat sailed, the owner of the wine couldn't switch wine. Ela dehasam, here's the key words. Kivan de leka peseda, leka kepeda, b'milsa. It doesn't really matter to the owner of the boat whether it's this wine or that wine. Mali ha-chamra, mali achrina. Aval b'yayin shetava, v'yesh lo revach b'kepeda. The owner of the boat has a benefit by demanding perfect compliance with the contract. Motza makam litvoa tenao ad kan lishono mevur b'dvarav. Diritzono lomar. Here's the rule we're going to want to apply. Kol makam shehamasa shesachar alav adayin lifanenu. The load is there. All right, it's right there in front of us, and then yochal hasocher lachlifo. Then the owner of the package, of the owner of the load, can switch loads. Be'acher, as long as it's equal. Uvichlal minas domhu, and it would be minas dom not to let him do that. Dehare la maskir al kol panim liso maso kamozu al gavi behemto asvinoso. So what difference does it make to the maskir whether it's this package or that package, as long as they're identical? Masha ein kain kishemasa harishona ena ba'olam bezelo ichrichu lahamaskir lekabel mehasocher masa acher. But when the original package isn't there anymore, and now the owner wants to deliver a different package, we're not going to force the maskir to take it. Remember, when the package is still there, we're going to force the maskir to let the socher change because midas dom, kofin al midas dom. Okay, right? But once the package isn't there, then it's already not kofin al midas dom. That's the sma. Let's just see the shach, and then I'll try it in the last 2-3 minutes. I'll give you an interesting case that the Mogen everyone wants to connect, and there are achronim say it's not connected. Okay, shakpeda gedol yesh. Okay, I'm besma. Sim cotton bays. Uvachinam herich besim cotton zeh. Vehisig ala shachar shelo kedaski ein kavanas a. I'm not sure who that is. Ayin shin. Rak lomar zesher me'akev yochel lomar ezotam al hakpada. He doesn't need to give any reasons. Basically, what the Shach is saying is, okay, what the Shach is saying is that the maskir would lose because he's bringing another boat. You know, according to the Sma, the reason that the maskir can demand full compliance to the contract when it sank, right, is because he's gaining. Now he doesn't have to provide. He's gaining. The Shach is going to say, no, that's not why he can demand full compliance. He can demand full compliance because he's going to lose if he doesn't demand full compliance. Because he wants to be able to rent a different boat. It's a question, it's a subtle difference whether winning or losing. Okay? You may want to see the Shach yourself. It's a subtle machlokas between the Shach and the Sma. That according to the Sma, okay, according to the Sma, okay, the reason that we don't make the owner of the boat bring a new boat, i.e., he can demand full compliance without having to bring a new boat, is because he says, I don't want to bring a new boat, I want to make money on that new boat. So I'm going to make money. Okay, whereas according to the Shach, okay, it's just that he's going to lose. If I have to bring a new boat, I'm going to lose, as opposed to not make money. Either one of them says it's not a kofin al midas dom. We've gotten rid of the kofin al midas dom. Let me tell you the interesting case that the Mogen Avraham brings that the Rav Osher Weiss talks about. Here's the story. So again, there are shuls where you know that only one person says Kaddish. Not everybody gets to say Kaddish. Okay, and there's two people that have yortzeit on the same day, and for years, one gets Ma'ariv, one gets Shachris. How do they decide who gets what? They do a lottery. A lottery. Okay, so each guy, the Shachris Ma'ariv is determined by who wins the lottery. One year, Ruvain is saying, look, I have to catch a flight tomorrow morning and I won't be at Shachris. So I want to get the Kaddish Ma'ariv tonight without a lottery and you'll take tomorrow. And Shimon says, Ma piton, we do a lottery. Maybe I'll win tonight. And then I'll get it tomorrow also, because you won't be here. And I'll be Marviach. I get to Kadeshin.
You should throw him out of the shul.
Why?
I mean, it you go here. It seems that the nice thing to do would for Shimon to let him have it, but technically Shimon is allowed.
Ephraim is being very consistent. To Ephraim, everything is determined by Asisa Yosher V'Atov. A guy who's not Asisa Yosher V'Atov, he's a pig, and we throw him out of shul.
Exactly.
Okay, but right now we're in din, and the guy is demanding din, and the din is we have an agreement lottery, and I can demand lottery. What's the other taina? Kofin al midas dom.
Yeah,
Kofin al midas dom.
The same as the CCR, but the flip side of it.
Be careful, okay? Because the Mogen Avraham paskins that the guy who's demanding lottery wins because he has a benefit. The Kofin al midas dom is depriving him of a benefit that he could have if we don't force midas dom. What's the benefit? He might win both.
Yeah, but at the disadvantage of the other guy.
Which is exactly what happens when we allow the owner of the boat to demand that the owner of the wine bring that wine that's underground, where we would not demand that if the wine was sitting there before and he just wants to switch packages, we say kofin al midas dom. But the minute the owner of the boat has some benefit, there's no more kofin al midas dom anymore.
Well,
That's what the Magen Avram wants to say.
do Batei Din actually rule this way? I mean, in a case that would be like
all the Achronim argue on the Magen Avram. Rav Asher Weiss talks about it. Says this has nothing to do with Kofet al Midas Dom. It has to do with Ehrlichkeit. Be a mensch. We got to be a mensch. You don't need Kofet al Midas Dom. You don't need a Choshen. It's not a Choshen Mishpat question. It's a question of Haginut. It's a question of being a mensch. Okay? And therefore, this guy needs tonight. Without the Hagrola, you will get tomorrow. Okay? And therefore, let go.
But going back to the Yain Zu and the which sunk to the bottom of the sea. Do Batei Din Tachlis say that the ship owner is able to say, yeah, listen, I agree to Yain Zu, and that's it.
As long as the ship owner can show why he has a benefit from demand, it will.
Which clearly he does.
He will be deprived of a benefit if you force Kofin al Midas Dom. Then he's allowed to demand full compliance of the contract. Yeah. That's one of the subtleties of Kofin al Midas Dom is it has to be mamish zenene v'zelo chaser.
Right.
If the chaser guy could show there's a chaser to me, you can't be Kofin anymore. Obviously, it's a nice thing, but Kofin is already different.
Right. And does that hold in general in such a scenario? Like what I said, FedEx or DHL. Sometimes people say, no, I'm not going to accept it because they don't want to fulfill the contract. They said, oh, it was going to be FedEx and we agreed on DHL. Or we agreed on part number 7123 and you put 7124, which are indistinguishable for the.
So again,
do we allow people to?
You've got to be able, the default here is Kofin al Midas Dom. You've got to be able to show why it makes a difference. There has to be some tangible difference. There has to be some tangible difference whether we demand full compliance or we allow alternate compliance. That's what you're saying. If somebody can show why FedEx, FedEx calls me before and they tell me when they're coming. And DHL just shows up, and if I'm not there, they leave a petek and I got to go to the office. So then for sure you can demand FedEx.
No, but I mean, that's not parallel. That's like, oh, I prefer this donkey because I really actually prefer the donkey.
Exactly.
They agreed on FedEx, and then it turned out that all of a sudden I realized I don't need this delivery anymore. I wish I hadn't made the deal. And Lemazali, they delivered it by DHL instead of by FedEx. And so now I said,
whoa, you just gave me a very complicated case. A very complicated case. Okay, I started again. Okay, I'm the product. I got the product. You want the product. What was our agreement?
I agreed with you that I was going to buy a ton of material and you were going to deliver it to me by FedEx.
And you're going to pay for the FedEx.
And I'll pay for it upon delivery.
Fine.
Now, after we make that agreement, I realize I don't want that stuff. I wish I hadn't made the deal, but I made the deal. And then it turns out you delivered to me by DHL, not by FedEx.
Oh, no, wait a minute. If I would have delivered by FedEx, would you have to pay?
Yes.
Why?
Because that was the deal.
Fine. So you got your product?
I got my product.
So then there's no way in the world that you don't have to pay for the product.
I wanted DHL. I wanted FedEx. You delivered by DHL.
But you're saying you don't want the product. Would you be able to say that I'm not paying for delivery? Let's say that the product is $1,000 and delivery is $100. Okay, and we agreed on FedEx and I delivered with DHL. Then we could negotiate. Maybe if you could show why the DHL was an inferior delivery.
None of that.
Then you have
just like Yain Stam. There is no difference.
That's mamish zen and Okay. Yeah, for sure. Okay, Rabbosai.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break for Yontif, and everybody should have a good Chag Kosher v'Sameach. I don't know anybody's planning on getting to Israel. They're going to make it. No, nobody's planning. We have some people who are still stuck in America trying to make it. And let's hope that after Pesach, I'm open to new topics. I think we exhausted this topic pretty much. I'm open to new topics for after Pesach. Again, Rosh Chodesh is on Friday, Shabbos. So we should be able to meet on Beis Iyar. Beis Iyar, we should be able to meet. Chag Kosher v'Sameach to everybody.
Right.
Okay, call too.
Thank you.
Chag Kosher v'Sameach.